But to trademark it around the world, that gets expensive.
I'm just gonna look up
trademark in Nigeria, for example, is $1,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on, okay. First of all, the Bionicle trademark, Bionicle itself was canceled as it pertains to clothing. So if we wanted to mass produce like Bionicle Media Project t-shirts and everything, that would be perfectly legal to do and sell.
Mins97. Hello.
And XONAR.
And I am Vahkiti, and hi. Because Messenach was a butt face. I'm joking.
Kind of worked out well, though. Oh, yeah. That should be a while. There's a lot of stuff to edit.
And all of them were so very confusing that not a lot of us actually voted on them. Yes. Well, as some of you may know, City of Legends was supposed to be a sequel to Bionicle the Game, created by Argonaut Games, and it was going to come out in 2004 to coincide with the Toametru part of the series. And we didn't know anything about this, that it even existed, until about a year ago, I believe it was, where somebody
It was more than a year ago.
Yeah, give or take. Some person on a website called Past to Present Online, called Andrew Borman, managed to find a partially complete ISO, which was basically just a test level where you could run around as Matau doing some parkour on an Xbox development kit, and he was originally going to sell it. He unfortunately couldn't make any money off of it, but he was nice enough to donate it to the community recently. and now we have it on our site. It should be available anytime, I guess. Some of the things I wanted to talk about of it, though, were after you get through the demo itself, because it's basically just, bash a bunch of more Buzok spiders, run up a wall, grab a Kanoka disc, you're done. It just loops from the beginning. But the file structure of the game uses a similar structure to Bionicle the Game on consoles, and we aren't sure how to mod that yet. But I would like to get the model for Matau and possibly some textures out of it. So if anyone knows anything about the format that uses the file extension XBS and XBM, that'd be great. You just post something in the comments or whatever. Do we have comments? Are we going to have comments for this? Okay, good. Well, we'll see how things go, I suppose. So what's next on the list, then? I suppose we're just moving on from the City of Legends. Will segue right into Bionicle the Game, yeah. So anyways, I was saying about the file formats for Bionicle the Game on consoles. We don't know anything about that yet. I was talking to JMMB about it recently, and we know how to get into certain compression layers on the PC. And the console version uses a similar format, as I said, XBS and XBM. The PC version uses PCS and PCM, and we can get into that. They are contained in .vol and .avl archives. But there's a final compression layer after that just shows up as 2 bin files. And I can't for the life of me figure out how to get into them. JMMB is stumped. And it's the final compression layer of the game. So if we got into those, we could probably access all the textures, all the models, and potentially have access to some of the beta levels that were not included in the final game. Because, as some of you may know, Bionicle the Game was admitted to be unfinished. And the trailer had some levels for the Toa Mata that were originally meant to be playable, like Lewa. So if anyone could figure out how to get past those bin files or what the hell is in them, that'd be amazing as well. And I guess that segues again into Bionicle Heroes, where again we're trying to figure out how to mod that. Not a lot is known about that, other than the fact that basically any tools that are used to mod Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars 2 will work on it, because it's based on a modified engine that was used for Lego Star Wars 2. Big shocker, by the way, with Huki having the Force and all. So, as far as textures and ripping stuff in the game goes, I can unpack the DAP file, which gets the game in its raw files. I can use some Perl scripts I found for Lego Star Wars to rip the textures and insert new ones. Although inserting HD textures causes everything to break down. And it is interesting to note that the GameCube version, I can access only the GameCube version, seemingly, because other versions just crash. I can access a test level, and I guess I could add a link to a video that I made in on this for the textures and that. But going into the level seems to crash the game. I think this is because it references certain Matoran that aren't actually included in the final game. It's just files that say Matoran _red, Matoran _blue, Matoran _green. And best I can tell when trying to unpack those archives, they contain little or no usable data, so that could be why the game is crashing. But as far as the game itself is concerned, there's a lot of unused data in there that I'd like to be able to mess around with. And it would be nice to be able to get the models out in a usable format. Right now I can extract them from the PS2 version, but there's no rigging, no texture coordinates, and there are some problems with the faces on the models that would be difficult to fix. And lastly on this topic, the devlogs in the game and certain config files have reference to a debug menu, which also references a level editor, which would be amazing if we could get a hold of, because obvious reasons. But that would be pretty cool, and I guess that's pretty much all I have to say on the subject. Pretty much, yeah. Most of them are. Running it on the certain consoles is more difficult than others. Like on the GameCube version, I first have to extract the ISO to its raw files, and then stick it on an SD card and launch it through something called DiosMios, which will launch unpacked ISOs off the SD card. I can then do that to swap. I can then just swap around folders and such. That version is the closest I've ever gotten to getting anything done as far as the test levels. And as I said, I made a video on that recently. The Xbox 360 version is the only one I haven't been able to mod so far, just because my system isn't JTAG'd or anything, so I can't move around the files on that in the actual game ISO. I've tried modifying the Wii version. It didn't really work very well. And I've gotten a hold of the PS2 version, but I haven't messed around with that yet. However, it is interesting to note that most of the config files in all versions of the game seem to reference the PS2 version, so if I'm going to have any luck accessing the data, it would be on the PS2 version. The PC version is the one I've gotten texture mods working on. Well, I personally find Mega to be a little bit obnoxious. Just I don't know if it's just my computer, but whenever I try to download something from there, it has this loading bar that just, I think it's trying to load the file and then it'll let you download it. So you're basically downloading it twice and it takes absolutely forever. That. Well, yeah, but that bar takes about as long to load as it does to download the actual file. So if you have a file that's like 4 gigabytes, you're going to be sitting there for like 3 hours. You can download the file before that bar finishes progressing? I've never had that. I don't know if it's just my browser or something, but whenever that bar is progressing, it won't let me do anything until it's fully progressed, and then when I click download, it takes the same amount of time to download the file.
Yeah, really, the bar is downloading. You really think so? So you think that the bar is like something like downloads stuff into your cache, and then it takes it from your cache and it dumps it right in your computer. Yeah, and don't you think that it would be like a perfect way for a virus to get on your computer? No, the bar doesn't download anything. The bar is just for the wait. So that you like, wait, and then you think, no, I don't like waiting, and then buy a bar-free version for a little bit of money. So
personally, if we had more space to it, I think Dropbox would be good for media submission.
Dropbox rules.
Well, I know, at least for my Dropbox, since I hooked up my HTC phone to it, I have about 20 to 200 gigs on it now, I think. I forget exactly which number, but you can basically go through certain processes to get more space on it.
Yeah, like referring people.
Yeah, I prefer Google
I suppose.
Drive.
Well, anything other than Mega, I think, would be a good idea. Yeah. Pain in the ass.
I don't like using Mega.
I haven't seen them in ages.
Sunspace. I've never.
I haven't seen them since I was on BZ Power. And it is also the most messy until now. I remember that too. I think I still have that version on a disc somewhere. I've tried organizing the sound effects in the current update, but some things I just couldn't recognize, like Madanui Online Game and Balrock animation sound effects. The quality of them, for one thing, and the sound effects themselves are rather unique, so they're fairly easy to recognize. I just plump them into a certain folder for Madanui Online Game and Balrock. But certain sound effects, like from the mini games or the flash games, you just get like random clicks and random whistles, and I just thought, you know what, screw it. I can't figure out where these came from. Miscellaneous.
Yeah. And that's a pretty useful tool.
I like Skelly's idea of making a separate folder for Madanui Online Game music, separated into its base tracks, because that's basically how it's ripped from the SWF files to begin with. Once you rip it from those files, unless it's been pre-mixed most of the time, you have like the drum pad, the whistles, like you've listened to the Lecoro band in the soundtrack, and you've got all the different tracks. That's basically what we would be doing. And yeah. I ended up actually remixing the introduction 2001 Quest of the Toa theme that was in there, based on tracks that I found in the Balrock animations, because it had sound effects in it before, like birds and everything. Interestingly enough, that same track was used in the last Balrock Cal animation, and they didn't bother to remove the bird sound effects, even when the scene on the screen was the Toa Nuva in the Barrag chamber. What the hell?
I've never noticed that.
But the birds are way hardcore.
Yes.
I actually ripped that. I uploaded it to YouTube about a year ago. I couldn't imagine that was in there. That was just amazing.
Wait, really? There's a music from a MNLG in the Supersonic RC game.
Yeah, it's the.
I could try to extract the music files from Supersonic RC directly so that you can compare them. Is it needed?
I got that once before. I could add that to the music archive if anyone wants, because that's technically Bionicle music. I'll just include it as a remix.
Yeah.
There was a difference. It was slightly different. They used slightly different instruments, and they mixed it different. Yeah.
The flutes were not.
I'll include a link to my video that I uploaded of it on the. If we have a description for this, I guess. I think I did manage to extract it from the DCR file when I uploaded it. I just don't have the source file anymore. And you still don't have the concept trailers. The final countdown trailer, and I think one of the advanced videos. Oh, and the announcement service public trailer.
Well, we can use the.
I have them downloaded right now. Actually, I was the only one to successfully upload the announcement service public trailer to YouTube because everybody else got claims from Universal Music, and I was the only one with the balls to combat the claim. So even if there are videos of it on YouTube still, I'm the only one with the original audio.
And I think we should have the 2003 Bionicle.com advertisement, because I feel like a lot of people are using that one.
Mm.
The video. And the music. What we do?
By the way, just a quick note I should mention, streaming music won't be updated until no sooner, I think, than February 25th, I think, because my bandwidth is stretched really thin right now. Oh yeah. I'm probably gonna make slight modifications to all the archives eventually, because just the way I have the whole icon and folder set up in the music archive, it would be nice to have that universal throughout the entire thing. Yeah. Well, we'll figure out something when we get to it, I guess. I still need to experiment with that, actually. Well, when I go on to upload my Bionicle The Game playthrough to streaming videos, I'll make a separate private page somewhere and just experiment with different formats where nobody can see it. Hmm. Oh, I thought when you were mentioning the limitation of 720p that it was limitation of the video player, not your converter. Ah, okay. Then why did we want to play through Madanui Online Game in 1080? Ah, okay.
Guys,
as far as I'm
extract the
concerned,
music.
I'm going to be recording Bionicle Heroes in 720p just because it's easier to record that way. It won't lag out my computer because I'm doing the PC version now. And ultimately, I always seem to have problems recording 1080p. My last recording of Heroes went pretty much down the toilet because the video got corrupted. I don't know why they advertise on this PVR that it can record in 1080 if it always screws up the files, but whatever. I don't know about that, but I can tell you this much. Apostrophes in file names no longer break it. Except if it's like, if it's the same kind of apostrophe that's being used in the JSON file. Like if you use quotes to contain the URL and then an apostrophe in the URL, that's fine. But if you have quotes in both the URL and the tag, then it breaks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I would... Mm. Well, I think that's not so much a limit of I think it's just sort of a limitation of the file system, because I know Linux computers can't have extremely long file names and old Windows computers. Mhm. Yeah. On that note, something I would like to do, if I could figure it out, I have no idea what I'm doing, first of all, but if I could figure it out for creating new playlist files for future streaming endeavors like streaming music, I'd like to create some kind of a program that I could just feed music into or feed a bunch of URLs into and have it write the JSON file automatically. Right. Oh yeah, well I use Notepad++ already, and I've been able to do that. Yeah. Well, the thing here with the streaming music is going to be the most difficult of them all because just because of the sheer amount of extra data that music can have. I got to put in album art. I got to put in artist info, titles for the songs, like actual titles, and the URLs for everything. There's just a whole bunch of extra data that goes into it, and I can't very well just, replace all, paste, blah, blah. You got to write all that out by hand. It reminds me of when I was ripping the voiceovers from the Metro and Nestle and Borok CDs. There was no real easy way to figure out what track was what, because as far as the CD was concerned, they were all labeled like track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. I had to listen to about 400 different tracks, rename them all. It basically took a whole day just to do that, and that's not even including having to add the album art and tags and everything after. No, I just did what was done with the voiceovers on the. We had the voiceovers for the Rakshi and the Borok Cal CDs, and I just based my file names off what they were, which is basically just a shortened version of what was what was actually being said. So it's like, welcome to the world of Bionicle. Okay, I'll make this file. Welcome to the world of Bionicle.mp3.
Yeah, I think the slider.
I think that's a good idea because having the sidebar on there, at least on smaller monitors, takes up a lot of space. The more space we could free up there, the better.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, we could get rid of those and just have a,
Well, actually,
the homepage is pretty much pointless right now.
If we have the tiles in the nav bar, we have links to the pages in the nav bar. We should probably actually make like a legit homepage that basically summarizes what we do, what's going on, what's happening with the current project, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
It's just sort of there.
Yeah, right. We don't have any description right now, which is...
Really, I think a lot of the content on the About Us page should be moved right to the home page.
Yeah, I think some of that can. Oh, no. Yeah, I was looking at it too, and there wasn't really any great ones to work. I mean,
I blame JMMB.
Might get JMMB to develop a custom solution.
Well, it might be some of his custom solutions that are conflicting.
Oh, yeah.
Because the plugin doesn't know how to handle his additional code.
Yeah. Right. It's easy to do. You can do something with jQuery or something.
Mm-hmm.
And most of our plugins are custom anyway.
Oh, yes. Well, I didn't know about this until recently, but apparently it was announced in back near the tail end of 2012. But I was recently taking a look around Nathan Furst's Facebook page, and I noticed that while he's been working on the soundtrack for Need for Speed and some other secret project, he's gotten a lot of requests for the soundtrack to the first 3 Bionicle movies. And near the tail end of 2012, he announced that he is going to remaster and re-release, or I should say release, period. It was never actually fully released. An official soundtrack for all 3 of the first movies. And this was supposed to be done in 2013, but he got caught up with a bunch of other projects. And he updated recently near the tail end of January that as soon as he gets some free time, Bionicle is going to be the top priority for him. So it is coming, it just might not be for a little while just yet. Some of them are, some of them aren't. What happened was a couple of years ago, I think it was like it was either 2009, 2010, I could be wrong, don't quote me. Nathan Furst had a website. He still has it, but it's been under construction for like 3 years now. But he released a bunch of 30-second clips that he had recorded from some of from the movies, and that's basically all he released. Then some of the other additions to our soundtrack were recorded either directly from the movies or were recorded from the DVD menus, and there are some of the tracks that we don't recognize just yet. I tried my best. I marathoned all 3 movies. There are about 5 or 6 tracks that I could not recognize. Best I can tell, they're either not in the movie or they're just there, but they're so quiet in the background that I wasn't able to hear them when I was watching the movies. It does. You'd be surprised if you actually listen to the movie's soundtrack instead of you try your best not to pay attention to the actual movie, and you listen to the soundtrack. There's a lot of ambient music that you wouldn't really hear otherwise. There's one other track in Legends of Metru Nui that was released on Nathan Furst's SoundCloud. I forget exactly when, but it's basically a cut version of the credits theme for Legends of Metru Nui. It's just the first introduction part of the credits that cuts out before it starts looping other music from other parts of the movie. So it's about a minute long, I think. But I think that's the highest quality track we have so far, and that was specifically mastered because there are some instruments and some additions to that track that weren't actually in the Legends of Metru Nui credits. Yeah. Well, recently I posted the Music 2.0 on a forum called FF Shrine, which basically, despite its name being a reference to Final Fantasy, seems to specialize in the release and uploading of different video game movies, soundtracks for different media, I guess. When I posted that there, I came across Skeleton Man 939, and he mentioned that in the game's files, on the PC version specifically, there was a license file, and for a period I thought that was referencing the actual music. Long story short, that turns out it was referencing the converter which is used. Apparently, when the game installs onto your computer, it installs all the music in regular OGG format, and then when it's done installing, it uses some kind of open source converter to convert it all to a proprietary format and then delete the original OGG files. So that's why we have WGT files in the game instead of OGG. If you delete that converter before the game is finished installing, it won't do that, but the music won't run in the game. But I digress. Anyways, I decided to try and get a hold of Ian Livingstone to ask if he would be okay with distributing the soundtrack. He said he's fine with it, but I'd have to talk to Traveler's Tales, since contrary to what I thought, they own the copyright to the music and not Ian himself who composed it. So Traveler's Tales might be harder to convince, but I'm hoping that the previous conversation with Ian Livingstone will give me some leverage and they won't just ignore it. No. It's just in the game. What I have done for personal use is ripped the files, looped them properly, gave them album art and everything, and that's pretty much all that can be done with it. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And other games too, like Bionicle the Game, because Argonaut is dead as well. Yeah. The
Sapphire's been dissolved.
Mobius Entertainment did Bionicle the Game for the GBA. Argonaut Games, most noted for making Star Fox and the Super Effects chip for the SNES, were also dead. They made the console version of Bionicle the Game. And let's see.
Sapphire made Tales of the Tohunga and Matoran Adventures.
No, Sapphire didn't make Matoran Adventures. That was Argonaut, actually.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Sapphire only did Legend of Matanui and Tales of the Tohunga. I was just trying to think of what the other developers were. I said Mobius Entertainment for Bionicle the Game. Razorback, yeah. Razorback did Maze of Shadows. Bionicle Heroes for the GBA and DS were done by Amaze Entertainment, and it was only published by Traveler's Tales. Well,
I mean, technically, a lot of our content is being held by laws, but I mean, it's, you know.
As far as these games are concerned, it's more or less a morality issue than anything legal.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, nothing made after 1964 can be 100% legally redistributed. But the thing about these are an interesting case because the developers are dead. In some cases, the publishers no longer exist. In the case of Tales of the Tohunga, it was made by Sapphire, published by Lego Software, and neither of those are still active. And used game sales do not benefit the publisher or the developer, even if it's a brand new game sold used and then bought from, say, EB Games. I could buy Super Mario 3D World used, and Nintendo wouldn't see a cent from it. It's a prevailing problem in the industry that's brought up a lot of debates in recent times, but as it stands right now, that is the way of things. And these games are so old, there's nobody left to care for them. While the copyright is still fully intact, there's nobody to make money off of them, even if they could.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the morality.
Well, the status of that's another issue. The status of the publisher is, to an extent, rather irrelevant. What matters is the status of the developer. Because for instance, take Bionicle the Game, for instance. Bionicle the Game was developed by Argonaut, which I mentioned before, but it was published by Electronic Arts. And Electronic Arts has been well known for stamping out any and all content related to their games. If they cared at all about Bionicle the Game, they would probably have noticed that we had the soundtrack by now and tried to stamp it out. Well, no, that was Bionicle Heroes. I'm talking about Bionicle the Game. That was published by EA, and they're still well alive and active. If they cared at all, it would be gone, and we'd be in a lawsuit right now.
No, they don't. Yeah. Yeah,
Although,
I mean, and they even still have those on Netflix.
Though strangely enough, they do actually seem to care about Legend of Mata Nui, of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but out of all things, you would think that would be the least of their troubles.
Well, I think we talked about this once, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could get, since it's like technically not even like an official, since it wasn't released, There's also the problem that Mark Kendall now owns the remaining rights.
Yeah, I was surprised about him owning the remaining rights because
I think they would have at least bought that off of him.
Well, no, it's not that. I was just thinking, what was the name? I completely forget the man's name. But there was another person that was the former head of Sapphire, and he's still in the industry. He's working for other companies now. Out of all the people, I would think he would be the one to own the remaining stock in Sapphire.
Yeah. Right. And Mark Kendall obviously wanted some cash for it.
I would really like to know and get a figure from him how much he actually wants for it.
I'm willing to bet.
Because with the current state of affairs on the internet, we could probably crowdfund the necessary money if we had an exact figure. I think if we owned the rights to it, I'm not sure, honestly, if LEGO would have a problem.
I don't think they would.
Oh, yes, random little addition here. I decided that just out of nowhere the other day, I have the Bionicle wallpapers from BMP on my computer, and I have them cycling around on the desktop every 10 minutes, I think. And the Nuva Cube came up with a random image of the Nuva Cube. And looking at it, I decided, hey, I could probably build a lamp if I made this correctly. So I just decided to try and make some stencils to, at some point, carve the Nuva Cube itself out of wood. Then I can make a lamp assembly out of it, and awesome things will happen. It depends, really, because if I were to make like an actual full lamp out of it, the heat from the bulb would probably set all that ablaze. Well, assuming I made it look similar to the promotional Nuva Cube images, the light bulb would be inside of the unit itself. So I'm debating about whether I would use an LED bulb or just a night light.
Like multiple strands of LED lights would be pretty cool.
Basically what I was thinking was just carve the design out of wood, line that with some kind of either opaque plastic or cloth to hide the inside workings and everything, and then just have the bulb inside, have the cube assemble, like the top part would go on like a lid, and then you just have the light emanating through the plastic. Presumably, yes. I might be able to make it look like stone. I don't know what I'd be able to use, though. I just have to experiment with different things, maybe some kind of stucco or sandy finish. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's basically it. Alternatively, instead of having a plastic box, I would just have the plastic adhere to the underside of the cube designs. It would probably make the assembly a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm XONAR.
Mince is dead, but I am Vahkiti.
It's late for him.